I know it is very early, Eagle Nation, but today we are going to be reacting to one of the beat reporters' 53-man roster prediction after going through the past several weeks, going through OTAs. Who is getting the nudge at some of these positions? We will take a look and we will go through it all and give our thoughts. But welcome into A to Z Philly. I'm RB. Do me a favor, hit the like button down below if you enjoy these videos, and be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the coverage. So Elliot Shore-Parks put out a tweet the other day with his 53-man roster prediction after the combination of OTAs and minicamp. I know a lot of people are not too high on ESP after some other things that have been going on, but he was there in person. He talked to some of the players. He got an up-close look. So we're going to go through and react to what he had to say about the Philadelphia Eagles. And give me your thoughts down below, Eagle Nation. If you have any disagreements or any other ideas or players that you think should or should not make the roster, give me your thoughts, and we will be reading those as well. But he says, after OTAs and minicamp, here's my guess at the 53-man roster. Some thoughts. Number one, this team is way stronger in the back seven on defense than they were last year. I mean, they have to be. You know what I mean? Based on what we saw last season, they go through that again, they are going to get shredded by some of these opponents this season. Number two, the interior offensive line has lots of questions, but lots of options to choose from. I think that is probably one of the more underrated areas that we need to just kind of keep a back eye on, because, you know, obviously Jason Kelce going out, that's your ultimate leader, your ultimate vet. And now, you know, for the first time in a long time, it's like, wow, you need somebody to really step in and play an effective center. Sometimes you take that for granted on how good Jason Kelce was, and then you start to have a little bit of shakeup across the line. So I do think they have some good options to choose from, but it's good that, you know, for example, they extended a guy like Landon Dickerson, start to put these pieces into play that can hopefully be your next phase, even after a guy like Lane decides to hang it up, which hopefully won't be for a couple years. He says, I think Covey makes the team even with other returners, and I think they go heavy at corner to keep control of the young talent that they have. So at the quarterback position, he has Jalen Hurts, Kenny Pickett, Tanner McKee, which pretty much makes sense, Saquon, Gainwell, and Shipley at running back. Wide receiver, he has him keeping 6, AJ Devontae, Paris Campbell, Johnny Wilson, Britton Covey, and Anai Smith. And like you just said, Covey will probably end up being the kick returner. I know they've been using him in those special situations. Teams are starting to strategize based on the new kickoff rules. So look, if there's a guy like Covey who knows he's probably not going to be an actual NFL receiver, and he really hones in and specializes that new kick return strategy, maybe he will earn himself a roster spot. Tight end, he's got Dallas Goedert, Calcaterra, and CJ Uzoma. Offensive tackle, Lane, Jordan Mailata, Mekhi Becton, and Fred Johnson. And then at the guard and center, which is what he was talking about above, he's got them keeping 6 guys. And honestly, I could see some of these guys getting cut, or maybe they go ahead and pick up another vet if they find one down the line. But it's interesting too, because Becton has also been playing some guard. So I think they're going to try to make these guys a little more versatile and, you know, put guys in different positions and see who can stick where. But obviously, a couple of these guys, Jurgens, Dickerson, Steen, those are probably going to end up being your starters, so they need to hone in. Maybe a guy like Trevor Keegan could, you know, be a surprise late in the draft, but you just have to wait till camp and see what these guys can do. And then on the defensive side, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, and Tui Pelotu. At the edge, he's got Bryce Huff, Josh Sweat, Nolan Smith, BG, and Hall. I think the defensive line will certainly be interesting to watch, and it's really dependent upon, can your former draft picks, you know, finally step up and materialize and become these players that you envisioned when you drafted them, right? The Pro Bowl defensive linemen. So we'll have to see how those guys work together. Also, at the linebacker position, Devin White, Zach Bond, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Nakobe Dean, and Ben Van Sumeren. And then in the back, he said he expects them to keep a lot of players. Darius Slay, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Keely Ringo, Eli Ricks. I think that's an interesting one. Isaiah Rodgers, and then Avante Maddox. So interesting. Who do you think will be the starters out of those corners? I could see Darius Slay and Quinyon Mitchell. I could see Darius Slay and Keely Ringo. I could even see Isaiah Rodgers. Maddox might play the nickel corner. I'm guessing in this, situation, if this is the actual roster, that Avante or Isaiah Rodgers would end up playing nickel. A lot of guys that you can, kind of move, almost like chess pieces that you can insert here and play this guy here and see, what will give you the best outcome of success. But I think Vic Fangio has a lot of guys that he can definitely play with this year and try to throw in different situations, which is good and a lot better situation to be in than last season. At the safety position, CJ Gardner-Johnson and Reed Blankenship, those are going to be your two starters for sure. But Sidney Brown, a guy who is kind of gone forgotten a bit this offseason, needs to step up and finally have a good season here and stay healthy for the most part, because he did show a lot of promise and potential. But if he goes down again, then his chances of being on this team long-term definitely decline. And then Mekhi Garner as well is the other safety that he has on the roster. Special teams, we know Jake Elliott, Braden Mann, Rick Lovato. And he says the last 5 cuts, so like that, day where we're talking about the final couple cuts, he has Albert O, Tyler Hall, Burks, Ojomo, and John Ross being the final cut. So what do we think about this roster overall? One thing I forgot to mention here on the edge, I think what he meant here by Hall, I think he meant Jalix Hunt, which was the Eagles' 3rd round pick. He'll probably make the roster, so I think it was just a typo there, given that last 5 players cut, he's got Tyler Hall here. So I think he meant Jalix Hunt. But anyway, I think this is a pretty good overall perception of the roster. Again, I wasn't there. I wasn't, in the up-close scene like Elliott Shore-Parks, but I'm sure a couple of these things will change by the time we get to camp. Maybe some players start to step up and, are used in different positions. No Bradbury on this list, so doesn't seem like he's coming back, especially after that injury. But when I look at this team, just stepping back overall, they look pretty good. They look talented on paper. But as we know, on paper versus on the field are 2 completely different things, and you never can really base an estimate on how a team is going to perform based on a list. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Pretty cool to look at right now. Also, real quick, let's go ahead and give a shout out to our sponsor of today's video. It is the great BetMGM. Enjoy all your favorite sports like never before at BetMGM. Sign up using our code ATOZPA and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you do not win your first bet. When you register with BetMGM, you'll get instant access to parlays, live bets, player props, and daily boosted odds specials. And with BetMGM at your fingertips, every play and every game matter more than ever. So go ahead and find out why BetMGM is the king of sportsbooks. Sign up today with the bonus code ATOZPA and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you do not win your first bet. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions.